Welcome to this high-stakes threat intelligence explainer. Look, right now, as we speak, the way malicious actors target organizations is undergoing a massive, silent evolution. We're looking at a landscape where the barriers we used to trust just aren't effective anymore. And honestly, the risks to your data, your employees, and your bottom line, they have literally never been more severe. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how these modern threats operate. And most importantly, we're going to equip you with the practical, easy-to-follow defenses you need to secure your business today.
We are spending billions globally on complex firewalls, endpoint detection, and perimeter defense, right? And it's all built on a single assumption, that attackers actually have to hack their way in. But what if we just shatter that illusion for a second? What if attackers don't need to break in anymore? What if they figured out a way to just, open the front door? Okay, let's dive right into this. This quote from the Otanu Threat Intelligence Report perfectly captures the really uncomfortable reality of modern cybersecurity. Attackers aren't spending weeks trying to crack a firewall. They are simply logging in. They're using valid credentials, valid session tokens, and they're acting exactly like your legitimate employees. Identity is no longer just a way to access the network. Identity literally is the network. So here's our threat intelligence briefing agenda. 1. The identity attack surface. 2. Layered ransomware extortion. 3. Deepfakes and synthetic media. 4. The data valence threat. And 5. Practical business cyber defenses. Let's start with Section 1, the identity attack surface. You see, our digital identities, our usernames and passwords, are now the primary control plane for modern networks. Attackers are behaving like incredibly sophisticated insiders. Once they authenticate, even improperly, they inherit all the trust your organization gave to that identity, and this creates a massive invisible blast radius. The attacker isn't setting off alarms by breaking a window, they're already walking the halls with an employee badge. So how exactly do they get that badge? Well, through tactics like adversary in the middle, or AITM. Attackers use these very sophisticated phishing kits and malicious software to capture your login details in real time. And here's the scary part. Even multi-factor authentication, MFA, isn't a silver bullet here because these kits intercept the session the very moment after you approve the prompt. These stolen credentials then immediately flow into what's basically an underground digital pawn shop. It's incredibly cheap for hackers to run, it gets restocked with thousands of new infections every single day, and it's absolutely where cybercriminals go for the path of least resistance. And business is booming. High-privileged cloud console credentials, the keys to the kingdom for your IT infrastructure, they are openly selling for anywhere from $1,000 to over $15,000. That staggering price tag shows you exactly how much value attackers place on compromising your top-tier identities. Moving on to Section 2, layered ransomware extortion. Right, so once they actually have those identities, they launch highly targeted attacks. Classic ransomware that used to be about basic file encryption, right? You pay the ransom to get your files back and save on IT recovery costs. But modern extortion is a totally multi-layered nightmare. Attackers steal your sensitive data, they wipe backups to cause operational disruption, and they even apply direct pressure to employees in the media to turn a private IT incident into a very public, high-stress crisis. By tracking ransomware movements and victim data leaks, we can see that modern operators are meticulously pre-planning. They actually analyze leaked corporate data to maximize their leverage before they ever send a ransom note. They know your revenue, they know your insurance coverage, and they know exactly which data will cause the absolute most regulatory and reputational damage if it's released. This isn't just a hack, it's a highly organized corporate threat. Section 3, Deepfakes and Synthetic Media. Now I want you to consider a pretty chilling scenario. What happens when the voice or the face of your own CEO on a video call can no longer be trusted? The massive shift toward remote work means we rely really heavily on digital biometric verification now. But AI has almost completely lowered the barrier for synthetic media. Attackers are using deepfakes to bypass authentication by impersonating privileged users. Think about it. If a hacker can convincingly sound like your IT director on a help desk call, they can bypass security protocols entirely. Section 4, the data valence threat. So how do attackers actually know enough about your executives to impersonate them so well? That happens through data valence. This is the continuous monitoring and collecting of online data across all kinds of platforms. Data brokers are constantly harvesting our digital footprints, tracking where we live, what we buy, where we work. And this massive collection provides scammers with the intimate personal details they need to lower a victim's defenses during a targeted attack. To really put the severity of this into perspective, just look at the financial fallout. $150 million. That is the massive legal settlement one company had to pay out after the U.S. Justice Department actually prosecuted them for selling consumer data directly to scammers. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why this matters. There is a very deep intersection between cybersecurity risks and privacy risks. If your business is hoarding unnecessary data or storing it for way too long or sharing it too broadly, you aren't just risking a privacy violation. You are inherently multiplying your cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Problematic data actions create the exact exposure that these attackers exploit. All right, Section 5, Practical Business Cyber Defenses.
Okay, we've covered the threats, so let's pivot to the practical solutions. First things first, you've got to adopt a zero-trust strategy. That literally means never trust, always verify. You need to get in there and remove any hidden passwords embedded in your company's software code, implement automatic password rotation, and strictly monitor for any abnormal access. And please remember, governing your automated background applications and your cloud services is just as vital as managing your actual human employees' passwords.
Next up, you have to enforce rapid credential hygiene. You absolutely must have controls in place that can instantly revoke active sessions if an anomaly is detected. But honestly, perhaps the biggest, most impactful leap forward you can take right now is transitioning your business to passkeys. Passkeys bind authentication directly to a specific device using cryptography, rather than a typed password. Think about it. With no password to steal, you effectively neutralized phishing and middleman attacks entirely. It's a real game changer.
At the end of the day, you need a robust, layered cryptographic defense. In this modern threat landscape, speed is the attacker's absolute greatest advantage. They want to grab an identity and move laterally through your systems within minutes. Therefore, internal security friction has to become your greatest strength. Put up roadblocks at every single internal intersection. Ultimately, surviving this environment requires a really fundamental mindset shift. You have to assume credentials will be harvested, period, and build controls that invalidate them quickly. It's just no longer about building a taller wall. You have to accept that breaches are inevitably going to occur, and your entire strategy has to focus on containing the damage when they do.
So I want to leave you with this final urgent question. Given this incredibly industrialized access economy and all these data brokers feeding threat actors, your credentials have very likely already been harvested. The only question that matters now is, are your controls actually fast enough to invalidate them before the damage is done? Take a really hard look at your environment today and start building that friction.